يا من عصيت الله يوما غافلا أنسيت أن الله قد أعطاك
running away from persecution, from torture, from killing, or refugees who are running away from certain economical difficulties, perhaps famine, perhaps droughts, and maybe with a wider title of immigration, people migrating from one place to another. It's a topic that's a very hot topic. So hot that here we saw how the majority voted for Brexit, and maybe one of the central issues there was the issue of migration. So a topic like this is very topical, it's very important, it's very relevant. It's relevant because it shows us and it demonstrates to us on a wide scale the attitudes of different people. The attitudes of people to how they display their humanity, how they display the human values that they have, and in some cases how this intersects with their religious values, what they believe in and what they aspire to. Something that's not new today in the world. And sometimes when you see how certain people behave towards others in this regards, you question the values that they carry. And when you see the lack of response as well, you also question that lack of response. The lack of a response to do anything, or the lack of response to care and to show your care and to get involved. And this is also relevant for us because as we are entering a new Hijrah year, this time which marks the event of the Hijrah, the event of the migration of the Prophet ﷺ and his companions from Mecca to Medina. They were also refugees. They were running away from persecution. Persecution, torture, killing, and the like. Running away to find sanctuary, to find a place where they can be safe, to practice their religion. It's something that was very much an important reality in their lives. They had to leave all they had, their homes, their property, their wealth. In several cases, many cases, their family. They had to leave the land that they had grew up in and they grew fond of. They had to leave all that for a new life and almost having nothing as well, starting off with nothing. But the migration was done and it was there and many people went through that. But what makes us, or is very important for us to make and draw the distinctions and to see the parallels of what was happening there and what was happening today. What is the difference? Why was it that the people of Medina were ready to receive these new immigrants, to these refugees, showing in many instances great acts of nobility, great acts of humanity, great acts of care, of love, of affection to the new people that they had come. And we just have to look at the stories and we know the different stories therein. of how when the Prophet ﷺ told them about this reality, that they welcomed and they embraced their new citizen or their new co-citizens. What was the reason for that? It was okay before, I think. It was okay. It's too loud now. It's too loud. They did that because the underlying factor was Iman. The underlying factor that allowed them to do this was their belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And their allegiance to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger. They believed in Allah, they believed in the Messenger, and so therefore that was what determined how they behaved towards one another. Their Islam was important to them. They didn't have a problem with giving, sharing their wealth, sharing their property, sharing their house, sharing what they had, because it was for Allah. That was what was important for them. That's what was in front of their eyes, was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And on the other hand, those who migrated to Medina, what made their migration smooth and easy for them was that they were doing it for Allah. They were migrating to Allah. They were migrating to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And they knew that their reward is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so that became something that they could do. They easily could give up what they owned. They could easily give up what they had for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like Suhaib al-Rumi, who was on his migration, he was chased by some of the Quraysh, and they managed to catch up with him, and he managed to take refuge in a part of a hill. And he was a very skilled archer, and he said to them, "What is it you want? Why are you chasing me? I'm leaving you. What is that? Why are you following me?" They said to him, "Well, you came to us, to Mecca, and you didn't have anything. And you raised money, and you managed to earn a livelihood, and now you are leaving and you are taking everything." They felt they couldn't allow him to do that. So he said, "Well, as you know, I'm a very skilled archer, and I have enough arrows in my bow and my sack. If I want to, I can mark each one of you out, and I can take you all out. But I'm willing to make a deal with you. If you leave me alone and let me complete my migration, then I will tell you where my wealth is, and you can just take it." And so they made a deal on that basis, ready to sacrifice everything. And indeed he did. And when he entered Al-Madinah, the Prophet ﷺ, who had already received the news, because the carriage of the news was much faster than the means of communication that we have today. So as he entered Medina, the Prophet ﷺ said, "Rabih al-bayt, Aba Yahya." Indeed, your bargain, your trade that you have done is a successful one. Because who is it better than the one who sells what he has for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And indeed Allah revealed the verse with regards to Suhaib. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْرِي نَفْسَهُ ابْتِغَاءَ مَرْضَاتِ اللَّهِ. And amongst the people are those who purchases himself seeking the reward of Allah. You have people who felt the difficulties of the Hijrah, but it became smooth to them as they understood the reward that came from it. So So a hijrah is an important event, but it becomes more relevant today as we remember and we see the different plights of people throughout the world. We see what's happening today, the plight of the Rohingya Muslims, who have been forced out of their lands, have been persecuted, their villages have been burnt, their women have been raped, children have been killed. And then the leader comes out on television and says, we don't know why they are. We want to know what's the reason. She's blind and deaf. What's happened? But where is the world? Where is the world today? Where are those Muslim countries, with the exception of maybe one or two, who are extending their hands? Where are the Muslim countries, some of whom have the word Allah on their flag, and some of whom who are willing to sell us talk in the name of Islam? Where are they in embracing the refugees? Why is it that they can only teach the lessons of the Hijrah? And I'm sure today, if you go and Google lots of the khutbah that are given today, you'll hear so many people talk to you about the Hijrah and the greatness of the Sahaba and how they received. Are these just stories for us to just read and just to mention in the khutbah? Or are they supposed to be role models for us to follow in our examples? We're supposed to follow people. Look at how the Palestinians were treated back in 48 and 67. How they were treated by the Arabs. They were treated like second-class citizens and even third-class citizens. Yet there were people running away from persecution. And they were driven out of their homelands. Instead of welcoming them, like the Ansar welcomed the Muhajirin, they were put into camps, into refugees camps, and they were treated atrociously. And even today, some of them are not even given, they're not given nationalities, they're not given access to certain rights. Go to different Arab countries and you'll see that. Whereas today here in Britain, you come and live and you work in Britain and Britain gives you a status refugee after so many years. They say to you, here you go, here's the nationality. You're a British citizen. You have the same rights as any other person. They're not doing that in the name of religion. They're not doing that in the name of Islam or in the name of Christianity. They're doing that because that's a basic human value, to care for others. And that's something that we have to be grateful for. And something that the Arab countries and the Muslim countries should be ashamed of when they are rejecting refugees. People who should embrace them. People who share with them the same religion. And even if they didn't share the same religion, these are people who have been persecuted. These are people who are running away with their own lives. So it's very important for us, while we stand here remembering the Hijrah, that we make sure that these stories and the lessons learned from the Hijrah are not just lessons that we just read and we listen to and we close the book and that's it. They have to be real lessons. So where are you today from the Hijrah? Where are you today from learning the lessons of the Hijrah? Where are you in terms of extending your hands out to those who are in need? Why is it today that all the refugees that are coming here to this country, and mostly from Muslim lands, do not find anybody to help them? The people who are fostering the refugees, and especially the children, whether they're coming from Syria or Afghanistan or different parts of Africa or whatever, they are being fostered by non-Muslims. They are the ones who are looking after them. Where is the Muslims? Where is the Muslims who are willing to extend their hands? Where is the lesson of the Hijrah? Where is the lesson of what you have in my pocket? Like that man, Sa'd ibn Rabi', he said to his guest, who he received from the Muhajirin. He said, this is my wealth. This is my wealth. Take half of it. half of my wealth, take it. We're not asking you to give half your wealth today. It's a little bit too much. But where is a little bit of your wealth for your brothers and sisters? Abdurrahman ibn Auf said, Barakallahu laka fi ahlika wa ma'ik. May Allah bless you, bless your wealth. And just tell me where the market is. Tell me where the market is. Show me where the market is. And Abdurrahman was a successful businessman. He went to the market and he traded and he earned his livelihood. He earned his way. He didn't want to be someone who was a burden on the society. He went and he earned, and very soon he managed to get a gold nugget which he used as mahar to get married. And he got married very quickly. Set up his own home. He relied on his own abilities and success. But you see the Sahabi, they were ready to give, they were ready to sacrifice, they were ready to share, they were ready to care. And where are we from the Hijrah, the Muhajirin? Because the Muhajirin, yes, they gave up. They gave up their land and they migrated physically. They migrated physically, leaving that which they owned behind them. Where are we from migrating on a much lower level, much easier level? As the Prophet ﷺ said, he said, وَالْمُهَاجِرُ مَنْ هَجَرَ مَا نَهَى اللَّهُ عَنْهُ. The alternative definition of muhajir is the one who migrates away or abandons that which Allah has prohibited him from. Where are you to migrate away from all that angers Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Where are you to migrate to Allah, to make those steps towards Allah? Because whoever migrates to Allah, history has shown us that those who make that migration to Allah, they will succeed in many ways. Allah opens up things for them in many ways. Look at Ibrahim alayhi salam. When he migrated to Allah, he left his family, he left his tribe, he left his home, he was being persecuted. He said, Inni muhajirun ila Allah. I am migrating to my Lord. And look what Allah gave us because of his migration. We had the great values that came out from that migration. The establishment of the reconstruction of Mecca and the Hajj and all of that came out of the migration of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And look at the migrations that happened throughout history, whether it's the brothers of Yusuf, or whether it's the children of Israel, or whatever. You see the people who migrated to Allah with the right intention, there was so much. And even the migration of the Prophet ﷺ, the migration of the Prophet to Medina, changed the reality of Medina. Because Medina was a land that was full of illness. It was full of illness and plague. And the Prophet ﷺ, on entering Medina and being present with his blessed body, Medina became Taba or Tayyiba, became the good, blessed, because of the presence of the Prophet ﷺ. And because of his dua, he said, he made dua, oh Allah, get rid of all the disease, push it away out from Medina. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala pushed away all the disease out of Medina. And even today, the scholars debate or dispute which is better, Mecca or Medina. Because Mecca, yes, Mecca, the salah in Mecca is better in the Masjid al-Haram. But as a virtuous city, which is better, Mecca or Medina? They debate about this. And some say that because Mecca, it has The most prestigious things that it has is Al-Hajar al-Aswad. It has the black stone. So that's just a stone. Whereas Medina has the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the greatest of all Allah's creation. But that's a different issue. But you can see from that migration, so much came to Medina. Because people who migrate to Allah, they will see so much. They will find other lands, they will find other opportunities, as Allah says, وَمَنْ يُهَاجِرْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ يَجِدْ فِي الْأَرْضِ مُرَاغَمًا كَثِيرًا وَسَعًا. Whoever migrates to Allah, فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ, he will find many other places to go to. And he will find lots of wide spaces. So it's very important to also ask ourselves, aside the physical migration, there's also a spiritual migration, which we have to do if we want to attain the rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه غفور رحيم. Please fill in the gaps. Make sure you fill in the gaps because there's a lot of people outside. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. عباد الله اتقوا الله كما أمر، فإنه قال يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. As we stand here at the beginning of the new Hijrah year, it's also important for us to review it's a good important stop for us to review our actions. A new year, a new start, a new fresh. A fresh leaf in the book. How are we going to look into this year that's coming? What are we going to do? How are we going to change? What is the migration that we're going to do? What is the sacrifice that we're going to give? How are we going to become better people? How are we going to interact with the society and engage in a much better way? It's very important for us to ask this question, and time does not allow us to go into detail, but I think it's very important for every one of us to ask that question, because time is running quickly, and we don't know whether this year will be our last year that we spend in this life, whether it will be our last day or last week. So it's very important to take that step now. Secondly, as we're entering into this new year, we're entering into the month of Muharram, a very blessed month, a sacred month, Shahrullah Muharram, that the Prophet ﷺ emphasized the importance of these sacred months, which Allah has determined when He created the heavens and the earth, that 4 of the months will be sacred months. And one of them is Muharram, which is one of the best of those 4 sacred months. So it's an opportunity again to come closer to Allah with these sacred months in terms of ibadah, in terms of fasting, in terms of good acts of goodness. And especially to fast the 9th and the 10th of this month of Muharram, because these are days which the Prophet ﷺ used to fast and used to encourage to fast, and indeed there is great reward for fasting the 10th of Muharram, a day which Allah saved. Nuh alayhi salam, He saved Ibrahim, He saved Musa, a day which has so much connection in history. So it's very important we can fast the 10th of Muharram as well. The Prophet ﷺ was asked about fasting the 10th, and he said that is the reward of such will be that Allah will wipe away the previous year of sins. All the sins in that previous year will be wiped away. So let's make use of that opportunity as well, inshaAllah ta'ala. And lastly, my dear respected brothers and sisters, it's very important for us that when we are standing here, while we are listening, we are sitting, we are contemplating about things around us, that we make use and we think about the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ. Because the Hijrah is just an episode in a whole batch of the seerah. And it's only when we learn the seerah and the extension of the seerah, which is this history, and the Islamic history and the history of the world, that we can utilize a better understanding of what's happening around us. We'll be better placed to know what's happening, how things change, how things are intervoluted, and that will ultimately affect our perspective on life. So let's also make that an opportunity for us to learn more, to develop, to educate ourselves, and inshallah by doing that becoming better in the sight of Allah. اللهم اغفر لنا ولوالدينا وارحمهم كما ربونا صغارا. اللهم تقبل منا انك انت السميع العليم وتب علينا انك انت التواب الرحيم. اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الاحياء منهم والاموات. اللهم ربنا انك نسالك رضاك والجنه ونعوذ بك اللهم من سخطك والنار. اللهم انا نسالك من خير ما سالك نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ونعوذ بك من شر ما استعاذك منه نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. اللهم ربنا اطب باخواننا واخواتنا في جميع انحاء العالمين. اللهم ارفع الظلم والاستبداد عن اخواننا في بورما. اللهم انصرهم على من عاداهم يا رب العالمين. اللهم ردهم الى ارضهم سالمين غانمين وارفع عنهم الظلم والاستبداد. اللهم اغنهم واغننا بفضلك عمن سواك. اللهم ارفق باخواننا واخواتنا في جميع انحاء العالمين، في كشمير وفي فلسطين وفي سوريا وفي جميع أنحاء العالمين. أنت أعلم بهم منا يا رب العالمين. اللهم من كان جائعا فأطعمه، ومن كان عطشانا فاسقه، ومن كان مظلوما فانتصر له، ومن كان مريضا فشافه وعافه، ومن مات من أمة محمد فارحمه يا الله برحمتك الواسعة. اللهم ولا تكلنا إلى أنفسنا طرفة عين ولا دون ذلك فنهلك. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من جهد البلاء، ونعوذ بك من درك الشقاء، ونعوذ بك من سوء القضاء، ونعوذ بك من شماتة الأعداء. اللهم ربنا وصل وسلم على سيدنا وحبيبنا محمد، وارض اللهم عن خلفائه أبي بكر وعمر وعثمان وعلي، وعن سائر الصحابة والتابعين وتابعيهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. عباد الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. فاذكروا الله يذكركم واشكروه على نعمه يزدكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون وهم من الصالحين.